The French President Emmanuel Macron has said recently that African states must be thankful because if it wasn't for France, the African states that we have today, such as Burkina Faso, Mali, Chad, Niger, all these countries wouldn't be in existence. Well, I'll let you listen to President Macron in a short clip that follows. Then we'll have our revolutionary Pan-Africanist quick analysis of his words. Listen to President Macron.
We had a safe relationship. It was of two natures. Actually, there is a part. This has been our commitment against terrorism since 2013. We were right. I think we forgot to say thank you. It will come with time. Gratitude, I am well placed to know. It is a disease not transmissible to humans. And I say this for all the African rulers who did not have the courage vis-à-vis their public opinions to wear it. None of them would be with a sovereign country today if the French army had not been deployed in this region.
Peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people, those at home, those abroad, and those in the future. As I listen to the French President Emmanuel Macron talking and telling African states to be thankful for France, to show some kind of gratitude towards France, because if it wasn't for French military bases in Africa, if it wasn't for France or French intervention in Africa, these states, most of these states wouldn't be existing today. One thing comes to my mind immediately as I listen to the propos of this guy. Something comes to my mind, and that is the white supremacy. White supremacy. And according to a famous quote made by Mr. Fuller Jr. in the United States, he said that if you don't understand white supremacy as to what it is and how it works, anything else that you understand will only confuse you. So this is how I do look at it. Firstly, if you are aware of the world in which we are living, you will understand that white supremacy, or the global white supremacy, is at work. It's the one that defines the world paradigm, and it's actually the one that we are fighting against to liberate ourselves as African people. When we say that we want liberation, we want that liberation against the white or the global white supremacy, which has manifested itself, according to my analysis, into the words, the saying of the French President Emmanuel Macron, telling that African people should be thankful for the French presence in Africa. And I can look beyond that, beyond the present French presence in Africa, to think that he actually implies that we as African people must be thankful to colonial powers for being colonized by them, to all the colonial powers for being enslaved by them, because it's through that enslavement and colonization of Africa that we are today states, that we are today nations, that we are today people, quote unquote, civilized people. This is what actually that statement, by my understanding, implies. You see, now the first thing that you need to understand is that white supremacy mindset is totally different to your normal mindset as an African person. It's not in sync with our conceptualization of the world, our way of thinking and our way of looking at the world. They see totally different things. And to be more precise, where you see a human being, the white supremacy sees a subject that needs to be utilized for capital growth, for economic accumulation of money and power. So look, for example, in the past, if you Google it or if you are aware, there was a disease called drapetomania. Now, drapetomania is a disease that was diagnosed on black slaves who tried to run away from slavery, or who tried to free themselves from slavery. So it means when you are in the plantation, being whipped on your back, working day and night to produce the cottons or whatever that the white man wanted for his system, for his economy. If you feel like it is now, enough is enough, you need to free yourself. You need to run from that treatment, that condition of life. You were deemed to be sick by trying to flee from that condition. You were considered to be a sick person, and the disease that you had was called drapetomania. So you had to be captured, to be put in certain concentration camp, to be treated, because you were considered, looking to free yourself, seeking for freedom. In the white supremacist mindset, it was a sickness, it was a disease that had to be cured, that had to be treated. And when I'm talking about treated, it's like you take an animal, trying to treat, thinking that the animal is sick. So that is one of the ways that you need to understand how white supremacy think, so that you can understand why the French President Emmanuel Macron believes that African state must be thankful to France, because France has colonized Africa, because France has enslaved Africans, because France has its military presence in Africa and infiltrating all the African politics and influencing the policy making of African state, to make sure that France every year continues to reap about 400 billion US dollars from African economies. Right? This is what they want us to be thankful for. You look, another example now, particular to France, is the Haitian Revolution. The same scenario. Black people were in the bondage, were in slavery, being treated like animals. And because the desire of freedom, it's something that we are born in us, we are born with as people. Every human being has what I can call an innate desire to freedom. Whether he understands it or not, whether he can express it or not, whether he has the words, he knows the words freedom or not, but in us we have this desire to be free, to live as a free people. So every time freedom is taken away from you, you will be automatically in that mode of seeking to liberate yourself. So our ancestors in Haiti were fighting for freedom, which Americans fought for, which French people themselves fought for. So this was the time where black people felt like we need to fight for freedom. And the freedom that they fought for aimed at equality, not even to establish a kind of supremacy over white people. They just needed to live in an equal society that respects human beings, human values, and human rights. You know what French did? French people went to France with a boat full of armies, soldiers, and weapons. They went to Haiti, and they forced Haiti to pay, to do what is called reparation. Why? Because these Haitian people wanted freedom, wanted to end slavery. And by ending slavery for France, it was disruption of French economy, of businesses, and all these privilege that they were, amassing, by enslaving Haitian people. So they had to force these people to pay back for their willingness of freedom and liberation. So in a French mindset, these people were not supposed to be free. They were not supposed to be free. And for them, seeking to be free was a crime against France, for which France has to ask them for for reparation. So instead of you that has been enslaved for centuries to be asking for reparation from the barbarians who enslaved you, it's rather the barbaric French government that went to Haiti to force them to pay reparation. Why? Because they sought after freedom. You see, this reparation has actually plunged the economy of Haiti up to today, that it has been unable to look after itself, to cater for itself. It is actually the main factor of the economic incapacity of Haiti today can be related to that reparation that France imposed on Haiti to pay back because they wanted freedom. So when we understand today that Emmanuel Macron is asking or expecting African people to be thankful, to say, thank you, France, because you came to Africa, you enslaved us, you colonized us, you exploited our resources, you exploited our land, you took everything that belonged to us, and you continually taking 400 billion US dollars out of Africa to build the dream of French children. Why the African kids in these countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, Senegal, Chad, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, all these countries, the African children don't even have what to expect in the future as they are finishing their education. Simply because the money that is supposed to build a proper school in these countries, to build industries, to employ these people, this money is taken to France to cater for the future of French children. We're talking about 400 plus billion US dollars taken out of these countries every year. Isn't that really interesting that France wants us to thank him because he has got its military bases in Africa, and it has been protecting us from terrorist groups and stuff like that, while we know that France itself supplies weapons. Western powers supply weapons to these terrorist organizations, terrorist groups, and supply them with intels on how to attack, where to attack, and when to attack. Isn't this really interesting? How do you conceptualize this? Because for me, it's really a demonstration, a pure demonstration of white supremacy. That these people are still believing that colonizing us, having their military presence in our countries, infiltrating our policy-making structures, influencing our politics and economy is done for our good, not for their good. That's what they believe. What do we take out of France every year as African countries compared to the $400 billion that France rips out of Africa every year? What do we take out of France? Why don't we have our military bases in France or in one of these European countries? Why don't we influence European policy? But they have influence on our policies, and they complain about us taking a position to stop their influence on our politics. You see, France is a country that does not have gold, it doesn't have diamonds, doesn't have oil, doesn't have platinum, doesn't have all these resources that we have in Africa. And one day, one of the French leaders was asked, how comes that you only have, I think, something like that, iron, yeah. You only have iron, probably. You don't have the most important resources that we need in the world. But how comes that France is among the richest and powerful countries in the world, while we don't have the essential resources, like for example, the United States of America has got oil. Why you don't have all these things, but you are among the most, richest countries in the world and powerful countries in the world? So this French diplomat, in his answer, said that we in France don't have resources, but we have ideas. You see, that was his answer. So the ideas of these people is to try by all means to keep Africa underdeveloped, Africa controlled, Africa dominated, Africa impoverished, so that the wealth of Africa can continue to benefit them. That's the idea, because can an idea feed your children? Can an idea feed you if you don't really materialize it? And how do you materialize it? You go where the resources are to use your ideas in manipulation and take the resources of those who have them and then feed yourself and leave them hungry. And France has been doing this since day one. And what has actually been able to keep France as a France is actually the manipulation, the exploitation, the stealing of the resources of African countries, as actually Ibrahim Traoré answered France just after a week of his declaration. After Emmanuel Macron made this declaration, a week after, Ibrahim Traoré, captain, who is the leader of Burkina Faso, made a response, which I'm going to also leave you to listen to, and then put your comment below as to your understanding. But the key word from Ibrahim Traoré in his response to French President Emmanuel Macron, he said that actually, if you, Emmanuel Macron, you pray, if every day you wake up in the morning and you pray, you should actually pray to Africa, because Africa is the God of France. Because without Africa, without the work of our ancestors, France wouldn't be in existence today. So in nutshell, instead of us, in reality actually, instead of us being requested to thank France for our current existing today of misery, neocolonialism, precarity, unemployment, plundered resources, plundered, and environmental degradation, all these things that we know in Africa, instead of us being thankful to France for these things, actually, it's France and its standards of life, Emmanuel Macron, who are supposed to be thanking us, because without our ancestors and the work they have done to liberate France through the Second World War, even the First World War, without our manpower to build France, right, and its capitals, without our resources today developing France or sustaining the standards of life in France, France wouldn't be in existence. So it is these people, Emmanuel Macron, who are supposed to be thankful to us. Listen to the Captain Ibrahim Traoré in the following clip and leave your comment. Thank you very much.
But on top of that, he also insulted all Africans in his remarks. There's a part that caught my attention where he talked about ingratitude, and that ingratitude is a disease not transmissible to humans. He is human. Our ingratitude is not transferable to him. This is how he sees Africa. He sees Africans. We are not human in his eyes. He may be the one who is not human. He does not put himself in the class of humans. But if there is a grace, well, he is. I think that if he is not an atheist, and he prays every morning that he wakes up and prays, he should also pray for Africans, because it is thanks to our ancestors that there is today a France. He should pray to us in his eyes. We don't have to be human. We are more than human. These are very strong messages. Let him pass. I mourn for the French people. However, they are beneficial for Africa, an essential evil for us.
Et surtout, que tout au long de l'année, que Dieu guide donc notre action, nous protège et veille sur nous. Je souhaite aussi rappeler à tout un chacun que la lutte contre l'impérialisme doit être donc intégrée dans nos gènes maintenant. Ça doit être une lutte qui se mène de façon implacable et tous les jours. Parce que beaucoup de gens n'ont pas compris ce que c'est que cette lutte jusque-là. Nos vaillantes forces combattantes sont sur le terrain. Ils mènent le combat contre les valets manipulés, ces criminels qui écument nos campagnes tous les jours et tiennent bon pour amener la paix dans notre cher Faso. Autant ils le font, nos masses populaires laborieuses, que sont les agriculteurs, les éleveurs, se battent aussi également pour qu'on puisse atteindre l'autosuffisance alimentaire à travers donc l'accompagnement de tous les techniciens du ministère de l'Agriculture. C'est très important. Autant qu'eux aussi se battent dans l'administration, nous devrons nous battre pour changer de mentalité. Cette décolonisation mentale, c'est la partie la plus difficile. Et c'est pour ça que nous tenons à vous rappeler constamment qu'il faut changer de mentalité, revenir à nos sources et nous battre. Et c'est ça aussi le combat contre l'impérialisme. Toutes les occasions nous sont offertes pour pouvoir comprendre l'impérialisme, ses manifestations. Quand je prends dernièrement les propos de Emmanuel Macron sur l'Afrique, eh bien, tout Africain conscient devrait donc comprendre très vite tout ce qu'il a pu nous dire et qu'est-ce que ça signifie. Le général Tchani a dit il n'y a pas longtemps du changement donc de tactique ou de stratégie des forces françaises en Afrique, et je pense qu'il est venu le confirmer. Il s'agit de dissoudre et de garder un dispositif socle. Et Emmanuel Macron l'a si bien dit qu'on ne peut que le remercier pour cette sincérité. Même si certains ont voulu mettre la poudre aux yeux de leur population, la réalité finit par rattraper aussi. Ils ne partiront pas de certains pays. ils ont juste dissous le dispositif. Vous ne les verrez plus dans des bases, mais dans les ambassades, ils seront là. Ils vont constituer des sociétés de sécurité pour sécuriser leurs sociétés qui existent dans ces pays-là. Mais les soldats seront là. Mais vous ne les verrez plus en tenue ou rassemblés dans des bases. C'est tout ce que ça veut dire. Ils vont se réorganiser, mais seront là. Il a parlé de politesse vis-à-vis de certains chefs d'État en leur donnant la primauté d'annoncer donc la rupture ou le départ des forces françaises. Ça nous importe peu, on peut dire. Mais tout ce que nous savons, c'est que si vous voulez une rupture avec ces forces impérialistes, c'est simple, on dénonce les accords. Tout commence par là-bas. Et je pense que l'exemple du Tchad, en tout cas, est palpable. Ils ont commencé par dénoncer les accords. Sinon, si on ne dénonce pas les accords, juste dire que les bases quittent, on n'a rien fait. Parce que le problème se trouve dans les accords coloniaux de défense qui ont été signés depuis l'indépendance. Le plus dangereux n'est pas ceux-là que vous voyez dans les bases. Le plus dangereux, ce sont les conseillers militaires. Les conseillers militaires existent dans tous ces pays. Ils ont existé au Burkina aussi jusqu'en fin 2022, jusqu'à ce que nous prenions nos responsabilités. Et qui sont ces conseillers militaires? C'est ceux-là qui sont censés mettre en pratique la politique de la France ici. Ils doivent travailler à rendre nos armées très faibles pour que la France puisse toujours avoir l'argument d'exister ici. Sous Blaise Compaoré, ils avaient réussi. Nos sentinelles prenaient donc la garde avec des bâtons. C'est ça que la France veut de nos armées. Lorsque nous arrivons à cette étape, nous n'avons pas le choix que de vouloir qu'ils viennent s'installer. Mais l'armée burkinabé a réussi à un moment donné à se débarrasser des conseillers militaires. Malheureusement, je pense qu'en 2019, après l'opération au Tapuanou, où ces Français ont vu que l'armée burkinabé avait encore une capacité de réagir au terrorisme, ils ont appelé les chefs d'état-major en France. Ils l'ont instruit de reprendre les conseillers militaires dans toute la structure. Eh bien, il n'a pas accepté, mais au retour au pays, les politiques l'ont instruit d'accepter les conseillers militaires. Et c'est là que les conseillers militaires sont revenus dans l'armée burkinabé en 2019. Avec toutes les conséquences qu'on connaît, l'armée était en train de disparaître dans les années 2020-2021. Et d'ailleurs, c'est le moment où beaucoup de militaires ont dû déserter parce qu'il n'y avait plus d'espoir. On était en train de s'effondrer. Voilà un peu comment ils travaillent. À l'état-major général des armées, dans tous les états-majors d'armée, dans les écoles, c'est eux qui sont censés dicter la politique de notre armée. C'est eux qui nous disent combien recruter, quand recruter et qu'est-ce qu'il faut en faire. Ils sont dans les écoles pour nous dire comment il faut les former et ainsi de suite. Tant que ces conseillers militaires sont là, vous n'êtes pas indépendant. Votre armée aura juste l'apparence d'une armée qui sera là en train de faire des parades du cirque. Mais lorsqu'il viendra la guerre, vous vous rendrez compte que la parade, c'est une chose, mais la guerre, c'est une autre chose. Il faut rompre les accords. C'est la seule façon d'avoir une armée indépendante et se construire, être fort. Mais beaucoup de gens ne le comprennent pas peut-être. Et même avec ces accords, la France choisit dans nos États des élèves officiers pour aller les former. C'est à travers ces mêmes accords. Mais en réalité, ces officiers qui partent se former pour la plupart, pour la France, ils viennent pour servir l'État français dans leur pays. Ils ne viennent pas pour servir nos pays. Ils les forment pour qu'ils viennent servir les intérêts de l'État français. J'en veux pour preuve. Lorsque nous nous sommes révoltés, beaucoup d'officiers au Burkina qui ont été formés en France ont été immédiatement contactés pour leur dire que c'est le moment de se mettre en action parce que vous avez été formés pour ça, pour servir les intérêts de la France. La plupart de ces officiers nous ont rendu compte, nous avons pris acte et nous continuons de suivre. Lorsque un officier formé en France arrive dans son pays et par malheur meurt soit par accident ou bien sur le champ de bataille, en France, il y a une nuit d'hommage aux morts dans l'armée, comme partout ailleurs. À la nuit d'hommage aux morts, on cite le nom de l'officier en question et on dit « mort pour la France ». Il ne le forme pas pour servir son pays, il le forme pour servir leur État. Et dans beaucoup d'États africains, il y en a plein de ces officiers. Combien sont patriotes, Dieu le sait. C'est une leçon que Emmanuel Macron a donnée encore aux chefs d'État africains, de se rattraper, et de pouvoir vraiment mener cette lutte contre l'impérialisme.